Welcome back to the Grass Toucher channel. I am an adult man, and I'm here to talk to you today about ranked modes in multiplayer video games. Competition has been around since the dawn of man. From naked wrestling in ancient Greece, to Roman gladiators fighting each other to death in a coliseum full of curiously rabid audience members, to seeing who can cut the most water bottles in half on reality TV. One thing is definitely for certain, and that's the fact that the competitive spirit has always burned brightly within the collective soul of humankind. But none of those things that I just mentioned can ever really come close to providing the sense of thrilling competition, raw display of skill, and level of self-fulfillment that winning a ranked multiplayer match can. Except for the gladiator one that I just mentioned earlier. Maybe that one can. Playing ranked in a multiplayer video game can be a super fun experience that really tests your mettle and lets you express your skill in a competitive team-based environment. It's an opportunity for you to lock in, focus up, and compete in the digital arena with integrity, all for the chance of getting a cool shiny badge next to your name. Or just a higher number next to your name. It depends what game you're playing, really. And despite what the video title says, I actually compete in ranked matches quite a bit. Much to the dismay of my mental health and my neighbor's audio tranquility, I've spent a collective thousands of hours grinding ranked in just about every competitive game you can think of, all to end up in bronze or whatever the second to last worst rank in these games usually is. This happens in literally every game that I've played ever. So I think it goes without saying that there is a part of me that loves the competition that comes with ranked.
Sorry, I can't hear you from the bottom of the leaderboard. I can't hear you from down there.
But I would be lying to everybody here if I didn't admit that far more often than not, I'm ending my ranked sessions in a fit of nerd rage, swearing that I'm gonna drop this hobby altogether and just go ahead and pick up something like knitting or pottery or writing erotic fan fiction or something like that. So let's not waste any more time beating around the bush here. I'm gonna go ahead and rip the band-aid right off and be honest with all of you good people watching. Ranked modes are actually kind of the worst thing ever. So today we're going to talk about all the odds and ends that come with playing ranked modes in multiplayer video games, and why it actually really is the worst way to be spending your hard-earned leisure time. And hey, come here for a second. You might even learn a little something too. As some of you may know, if you look beyond the veil of the blood-pumping high-stakes gameplay, energizing competitive spirit, and the potential for sick plays that a ranked Battlefield provides, you will eventually uncover the fact that every ranked match you play comes with, one of my personal favorites, the added stress of being responsible for the mental well-being of all of the strangers who were put on your team. Make one harmless mistake and you can send that random guy on your team into the most unhinged downward mental spiral that you've ever seen in real time. And hold on just a second, I can already hear some of you typing away in the comments talking about that last thing I just said.
Yo, but the sick plays, it's all worth it for those clutch moments.
And I'd like to counter that by saying dealing with these people is not worth the 1 out of 100 times that I'm actually able to pull off a clutch play. And actually, let me take a second to just counter that a little bit further. For every fun and memorable clutch moment there are at least 100 other moments dealing with the people in these lobbies and games that will completely shake your faith in humanity and have you questioning how we were able to make it this far as a species. We put people on the moon in the 1960s, guys. How did we end up here? Also, anybody who's played ranked in just about any game ever knows that it's a proverbial breeding ground for some of the worst types of people that you can find online. I'm talking absolute goblins, trogs, and yes, basement creatures. And that's just one small slice of the types of colorful personas that you will come across. If you are fortunate enough to spend enough time playing in a ranked environment, you'll start to meet a whole cast of wacky characters. So why not start there actually? Let's explore that part first. Lots of different people like to play video games. That's not a secret. Both you and I know this. But there are definitely certain types of players that are ubiquitous. Not sure if I'm using that word right. When it comes to competitive environments in online gaming. Let's start with everybody's favorite and probably the obvious one, the toxic teammate. You know him, you love him, you probably hate him, but he's in every single one of your games. This is the guy who will verbally explode on everybody for the smallest mistake or at the very first sign of adversity. His fingers are permanently positioned in a gremlin-like claw grip, eagerly awaiting you or one of your teammates to make the slightest mistake or breathe wrong so he can unleash his barrage of insults at you. These types of people are scientifically proven to both A, secretly hate their life, and B, derive literally all of their self-worth from the achievements in whatever game they may be playing at the time. God forbid you get the toxic teammate that decides to use their microphone.
Oh my god! Fuck sister! Motherfucker! Please report it, mother bitch!
That is the absolute worst. If and when that ever happens, you've just been involuntarily upgraded from having to listen to the deranged ramblings of a lunatic to having to sit there listening to some mouth breather aggressively spew verbal diarrhea into your ear, telling you all about how you suck and how you need to uninstall the game. Typically when you're just there trying to blow off some steam after a day at work or school or whatever. Besides being an insufferable loser, the toxic teammate will make it their mission to destroy any chance that your team may have had at winning by immediately sabotaging any team morale or goodwill that you may have had with their dogshit personality and nasally voice. These are bad people, okay, and they deserve to be tarred and feathered in like an old-timey Victorian village town square. Unless it's me being toxic, then it's okay. Next up is the toxic opponent, also known as the enemy team asshole or ETA for short. This guy has a lot of the same traits as the toxic teammate, with the added bonus of typically showing up only when you're on the receiving end of a one-sided steamroll. So now not only do you have to deal with the impending threat of a loss, but you also have to listen to the guy that keeps killing you over and over, tell you that you're ugly and that you have McDonald's aura. What the fuck does that mean? My favorite tactic in dealing with enemy team assholes or ETAs is to call them a bum at the end of the match to elicit a satisfying angry response back. I do this regardless of if we won the match, by the way. Try it out and let me know what happened. So quick question for you guys. Do you remember being in middle school or high school and there was always that one couple who would stand in an aggressively public area and put on the most disgusting display of PDA that you'd ever seen? Okay, so take that energy, take that vibe, and distill that into the competitive gaming medium. And bam! You've got our next archetype, E-daters. E-daters are the absolute worst, and for some reason they feel the need to include everybody else in their sick and twisted voice communication by bringing it into the public team chat.
Oh my god, my hero!
I shouldn't have to run the risk of listening to two people suggestively meow at each other anytime I'm queuing up for a Valorant match. You're messing up the team communication with your weird flirting in the voice chat, and frankly, you're making my skin crawl. Please stop playing together. Put that one, show the E-dating clip real quick.
Can you meow for me, Jet?
Meow, meow.
Who's my cute little...
Yuck. This next one might be a bit controversial, but I'm gonna let it rip anyway. The overly enthusiastic teammate who won't shut up. The only thing worse than an overly negative and toxic teammate is an overly positive and enthusiastic teammate who will not stop talking. And you guys know the one. He's the one who is way too friendly in the character select screen or whenever the match first starts.
How's your guys' Friday evening?
Please stop that. It's making me feel weird. And I'm not like some Scrooge, okay? There's nothing wrong with a little chit-chat between each other or some banter here and there. A nice shot or a good job from time to time. But these guys always want to take it from 0 to 100 within 1 second of the game starting. I don't know who you are. The worst versions of the overly positive and too talkative teammates will typically take on a holier-than-thou attitude and gaslight you into thinking that you are the dickhead for relentlessly taunting the guy on the the enemy team who you just killed. He deserved it. He said I had McDonald's aura. I still don't know what that means, but it sounded like it was supposed to be mean. Do you like spending 45 plus minutes of your day being relentlessly beat down by somebody much better than you with absolutely no chance at you winning and actually not even having fun? No? Yeah, me neither. And that's why I despise what is known in the gaming community as Smurfs. If anybody knows why they're called that, please tell me in the comments. These are the people who are much higher ranked than you but have created a second account just so they can compete in lower ranked lobbies and absolutely flatten everybody that they play against while still somehow feeling good about themselves. So imagine taking like 2001 San Francisco Giants roided out baseball player Barry Bonds in his prime, okay? And then you give him free unrestricted reign to just go all out against little Timmy's city T-ball team. That's what playing against a Smurf feels like. People who like to Smurf are either looking for some sick satisfaction by participating in a one-sided stomp against players who aren't as good or are still learning, or they might just be playing with one of their friends trying to artificially inflate their rank, which is also known as boosting. These people create unfair matches and ruin the experience for lower ranked players in their lobbies and are also very likely in desperate need of a shower. Okay, so I feel like playing a little bit of devil's advocate here and talking a little bit about the more positive types of people that can popped up in ranked. Hey guys, this is post-editing Grass Toucher here. I realized I just said popped up in ranked, like past tense. Just wanted to clear the air and let everybody know that I don't know grammar. All right. Some of these are more rare than others, but these are some of my personal favorites. Starting with the hilarious group of 4 friends that you queued into as the solo player. On rare occasions when the moon is full and the stars align in just the correct order, you may be lucky enough to experience what I believe is the best case scenario for any solo player. If you've never had the pleasure of getting placed onto a team with 4 or 5 other friends who already know each other, let me enlighten you real quick. These guys are just the best, okay? So first and foremost, they're really just here to have a good time. They're making you feel comfortable right away, okay? They are hyping you up for every play that you're making. They're cracking jokes the whole time. Their comms are crystal clear. Oh, it's just wonderful. Every objective taken or headshot given or sick play made by you is met with a thunderous roar of positive reinforcement along with a bunch of one-liners with perfect comedic timing. And once all the fun is had and the game ends, you'll send each of them a friend request and you'll never play with them again. This is just the way of the world, don't question it. Consider yourself blessed if you ever get these guys as your teammates, though it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because every time you play from now on, you'll be sitting there thinking about what could have been if those 4 random dudes just adopted you as their permanent 5th member. I miss you guys wherever you are. A little bit more common, next up is what I like to call the chill guy. The chill guy is true to his namesake. He might chit-chat a little bit, he'll give credit where it's due and call people out on good plays, nice shots, good jobs, all that type of stuff. He's a jack of all trades if those trades were being a cool-ass motherfucker. The best quality that the chill guy archetype has is having your back whenever somebody on the enemy team decides to shit-talk you. This is the mark of a true chill guy teammate, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Last but definitely not least, we can't forget the perfect comms caller. Says no more, no less. He's all business, all comms, all the time, and they are perfectly called out. This guy knows every single corner of every map apparently and has achieved a mental flow state that is only known to the most dedicated of Buddhist monks. He's there in the chair in front of the computer screen. He's next to the colorful painting and the gray wall with the little whiteboard next to him, and he's sitting in the black chair with a headset on. The headset is black and red, and he is, oh god, he sees me. So that cast of characters that I just talked through is just a glimpse of what you may find within the fiery abyss that is ranked competitive gameplay. If you've met any of these types of players, or if there's different types that I may have not mentioned that you've seen, let me know in the comments after the video. But not before we talk about the real reason why playing ranked is actually the worst, and that's the effect that it has on player behavior and mental state. Now, ranked gaming's impact on a player's psychological or mental state may not come as a surprise, but the depth of its influence is definitely worth exploring. At their core, ranked game modes tap into the brain's reward systems, keeping players hooked by cycling between emotional highs and crushing lows, similar to how gambling works. And here's how it shapes and sometimes warps the player's mindset. Let's go ahead and talk about the obvious one first, and this is something that I am constantly falling victim to, and I'm sure some of you watching are as well, and that is the painful obsession with making rank go up. We love big number and shiny emblems around here, okay? Ranked modes have this habit of taking the fun of actually playing and reducing it to a number or a badge for a lot of the players who get caught up in the grind. It starts getting to the point where a single loss can feel like the most devastating thing ever, and a victory can feel like this tiny little step on a staircase with a million steps on it. Taking on this kind of mindset or playing this way can cause people to spiral into what's known as rage queuing or tilt queuing, which ends up having people play these games with a same level of stress as a problem gambler who just leveraged both his house and his family on his last hand of blackjack. If this goes unchecked, the obsession with ranking up can really suck the fun out of the game. Every little mistake that you make becomes magnified. You can't really relax and enjoy playing with yourself. Playing by yourself or with your friends, just trying to have a good time, and this thing that you used to do for fun has now become like a second job. I do have to admit though, there is something super satisfying for me to see one of these digital ranked badges or ranked numbers next to my name just get a little bit higher or a little bit cooler. Something about that just really ignites the neurons in my monkey brain. So along with the obsession of actually achieving a higher ranked game modes rely on unpredictable outcomes, even if you personally played well. Sometimes you win big and sometimes you don't. This reward structure makes your brain do the feel-good chemicals, the same ones that I feel when I sit on the toilet for 2 hours doom scrolling on my phone. And like I mentioned earlier, this variable reward system is eerily similar to the one used in gambling, and it's a really good mechanism to keep players coming back again and again. So next time you feel like playing a ranked match of League of Legends, maybe stop and think about taking out a short-term loan and gambling the entire thing on the roulette table. Debatably worse than obsessing over getting your rank higher is when people are worried about losing the rank that they have. Even though they want to play the game for fun, some players will stop queuing completely out of fear of losing their rank, which can actually lead to that smurfing problem that I was talking about earlier. That fear of deranking can lead to even more stressful matches due to that self-imposed pressure and playing worse, creating a negative feedback loop that once again sucks all the fun out of the video game that's sole purpose is to make you have fun. I'll go ahead and be honest for a second here though, I do like a little bit of stakes in my gameplay, except when I lose. Then I hate it and I want to body slam my computer. Alongside that self-imposed stress from possibly deranking, you have that added element of leaving your fate up to 3 to 4 random other people on your team who are usually performing at a level that makes it seem like they just got off a 3-day binge of huffing cans of computer duster. On top of that, if you and all of your friends are around the same rank, depending on the game, if you lose rank, you guys won't be able to play together anymore. On the other hand, you have that awkward situation where you might be avoiding queuing with some of your friends even though you guys are around the same rank because you know it's risky. Take your buddy Jimmy for example. Great guy, but that habit that he has of rushing mid every single round, even if it's a save round, buying a sniper rifle and dying within the first 2 seconds of the match, not exactly a recipe for success. God bless his heart. Now, as if all that wasn't enough to make you reconsider your gaming life choices, let's talk about cheaters.
What the fuck?
The people who are so lacking in basic motor skills that they resort to downloading some sketchy, possibly Russian software and letting it do the work for them. Cheaters come in all shapes and sizes, from wall hackers to aimbotters to map hackers and scripters. They are all equally annoying and likely equally lacking in any meaningful personal relationships. And those cheaters who try to act subtle by toggling their cheats off and on, pretending like they're just naturally able to predict exactly where you are, or snap to your head like a homing missile. You're the worst kind, and you suck at trying to be sneaky, by the way. There's nothing subtle about dropping 50 kills in a bronze lobby, you fucking nerd. And the worst part about all of this isn't really the blatant cheating itself, it's more so that paranoia that it creates. Once you've experienced one cheater in a ranked game, every time somebody's doing well in your future matches, it starts to look sus. You'll start questioning every single death that happens to you like you're some detective in a low-budget crime drama slowly spiraling into a vortex vortex of suspicion. And let's not forget those cheaters that aren't just satisfied with ruining your game, but they have to go ahead and type some stupid shit in the chat like EZ too. Honestly, at that point, I don't know what's worse. Losing to a cheater that just typed EZ in the chat, or getting killed by Jimmy from my last example. Either way though, the ranked grind will continue to find new and exciting ways to continually break your spirit. Okay, another question. Have you ever dreamed of earning an advanced degree in something that was completely useless? No? Well, too bad. You better already be halfway to PhD status if you plan on playing ranked. If you even want a shot at moving up in the ranks, you better be spending your time hitting the aim trainers, analyzing VODs, and break down every play, mistake, and everything that you've done previously, like you're analyzing game footage for the Super Bowl. Whenever you go online and ask, one of the most common ways that people say you can get better at ranked or improve your rank is to go back and watch replays of your gameplay. And I want to ask a follow-up question off of that. Who the hell has time for that? Genuinely asking, at what time of day specifically am I supposed to do that? Even non-FPS games like League of Legends, Dota, Smash Bros, you name it, demand time reading guides or deciphering patch notes or decoding some obscure forum posts from the mid-2000s about animation canceling and reading frame data. All of that just to stay barely competitive. I didn't sign up for this to feel like I'm cramming for an exam. I'm just a guy that wants to click some heads and maybe land a sweet double kill. Is that too much to ask? And I do understand that there's a whole esports scene full of people who want to do that level of studying and grinding. And hey, more power to them, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole today. That is a conversation for a different video. As a surprise to nobody watching this, teamwork is a huge part of these competitive multiplayer games. Most of these games are placing you onto teams with other players that you're expected to work together with in order to achieve victory. And like anything else, when you are dealing with strangers on the internet, that becomes a huge problem. So let's start there with teamwork, or rather the lack thereof. Like I mentioned, victory is most easily achievable in these games by working together with the other players on your team. Communicating well, supporting each other, playing your role well, etc. But let's be real for a second, that is not going to happen most of the time. Why? Two reasons. One, most people are completely focused on padding their own score and their own individual performance. And two, because there's no legal requirement for basic critical thinking skills or problem-solving skills or pattern recognition before being able to download these games, which I think there really needs to be. Game companies, if you're watching this video, please implement a required IQ test for players before they're able to play your game. Thank you. Okay, switching gears to the mental side of things. Ranked matches are a mental gauntlet and nobody leaves unscathed. Either your teammates are going to tilt after a single bad round, or one guy on the enemy team is going to keep calling people bums every time he gets a kill. And we've all been there, one bad round or team fight gone wrong, and suddenly your teammates are typing in all caps, they're screaming over the mic. They are blaming anything from RNG to someone else's mistake to the weather outside, anything but themselves. Meanwhile, you're sitting there with steam coming out of your ears and ass, lamenting the fact that you should have spent your free time doing something like learning the piano instead of getting smacked around in silver lobbies for the past 4 years. And lastly, it wouldn't feel right to do a video on ranked modes or competitive games without at least mentioning the plague that is meta-slavery. If you're planning to pick an off-meta character, loadout, weapon, or try like an unconventional strategy, you better prepare for the verbal beatdown you're about to receive from your teammates. You just wanted to have a little fun, maybe spice things up a little bit, having a good time. But now you've become both the team clown and team punching bag, and for every little mistake you make from here on forward, you will be verbally flogged. Having to follow the meta all the time sucks. It's just not the best feeling not being able to choose what you want to play based on what's good in the current moment. And I know that's like a little bit antithetical to how ranked works and how competitive games work, but this is my video. F you. At the end of the day, playing ranked matches in multiplayer competitive games is going to be a roll of the dice. You'll have some good times, you'll have some bad times, but much like gambling, the odds are rarely in your favor, and the likelihood that you're going to be paired up with some weird e-daters meowing at each other for attention is very high. But god damn it, I love it. I really do. I go through phases where I'm an absolute fiend for grinding ranked matches. And honestly, there's a lot of fun to be had in ranked, and I think if you go in with the right mindset and the approach of knowing that it's just a game and you're there to have fun, regardless of the competition, the stress, or whatever, you're gonna have a good time. Anyway, I wanna hear about your guys' ranked experiences down in the comments. Good or bad, let's hear them. I wanna hear about the clutches, the tough losses, the cast of characters that you met, and if you've ever met any of the ones that I mentioned earlier. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking around and watching. I seriously appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.